Hello everyone, I'm Rafael Alvarez and this is Alvarez Metalworks. Before we get started today, I wanted to give a special shout out to my channel sponsor, RorikSupply.com. They've been a tremendous amount of help to me when it comes to producing these videos for all of you. Check out RorikSupply.com. They have flap discs, cutoff wheels, grinding wheels, welding blankets, drill bits, burr bits, welding helmets, roll-lock discs, you name it, the list goes on and on. Use coupon code METAL, save yourself 10% off anything that you order from them as many times as you choose to use that coupon code. That's my thank you to you for supporting my channel. With that being said, let's get to work. So I got something a little different for you guys today. I'm going to be building myself a custom desk. The desk I'm building is going to be based off of Ramsey Customs Trussel Table Do-It-Yourself Kit. If you guys aren't familiar with who Ramsey Customs is, he's also a YouTube content provider. Check him out. You can search Ramsey Customs. His link will be down in the description. That's one of his channels. His other channel is the OldBarn Homestead. I will put both links down in the video description if you guys aren't already subscribers to his channel. I decided to go with his trussel table kit because I thought it was a really nice design to begin with. But it was, most importantly, I felt like I could easily modify it and make it my own design. And the fact that he was able to cut this out with the CNC plasma table was a huge plus because I don't have one. Anyway, part one, which this is part one, we're going to be assembling the feet of the trussel kit. I don't know how many parts of this video they're going to be. We'll just wing it. Okay, I'm building this as I go, and I'm putting the videos together as I go. It's going to be a really neat design. Make sure you guys subscribe if you haven't already. Make sure you check back for updates. This is going to be a cool piece of furniture. So what we have here is a few of the pieces from the Weld Together Trussel Table Kit. Now, they do offer a Bolt Together kit. I opted to go with the Weld Together kit because it was significantly cheaper. Plus I have a welder. Plus I don't think you guys want to see me bolt stuff together. You want to see me weld. That's what I do. I just wanted to go that route anyways because there's a few different features that I plan on doing to customize this that the Weld Together kit just suits my needs better. So what I'm doing here is I'm using my Makita 4.5-inch angle grinder with a flap disc supplied by RorikSupply.com to knock off the dross as well as the mill scale from the metal. This is all hot rolled steel, so you do have to address the mill scale in the areas that you're going to weld. It's not critical, but if you want a really clean weld, do it. I'm also grinding it off on the edges that I won't be welding on just for consistency, but you know, this is a piece of furniture, so you have to take it for what it's worth. You know, it's not a big structural item. If you got a little bit of contamination in your weld because of the mill scale, it's not going to be a deal breaker. Anyway, those square pieces, I'm going to be inserting some nuts into those. And this round piece that I'm grinding on right now, that's the actual foot. If you look at the two other round ones with the threaded rod, I'm going to be inserting the threaded rod into this one as well, and I will get to showing you that right now. So to weld the threaded rod into the round foot, you're going to need to have one of the nuts handy. You're going to thread the nut onto the threaded rod all the way inside of it to where you have, I would say, 2 to 3 threads sticking out the other side of the nut. See right here, I've got about 2.5 threads, almost 3. Then you're going to place that into the center of the foot. Now, if you look here on the back side of it, you'll see that I've got a large, area that I'm going to be filling in with a plug weld. So you're going to flip this upside down. The reason why you're using that nut is it'll hold it fairly close to being flat as possible. I'm throwing one tack weld on here on one side, going to spin it around 180 degrees and putting another tack weld. I'm MIG welding this with my Everlast powerI-mig 200 with an upgraded torch. Great welder. Had it for many years. Is done well. You see here, now I got the two plug weld, or excuse me, two tack welds in, and I'm just rotating this around and getting a perimeter on here. Now, the threaded rod, I don't know what kind of coating it has on there, or really what that metal is. It's steel. I don't think it's stainless. It could be stainless. I'm not entirely sure. Um, but there's a little bit of spitting and sputtering. This could be from a number of different things. It could be from the coating. It could also be from just air pockets down in the threads. It's really not that big of a deal. This is not a super critical weld. It's not, it's not a vehicle or anything like that. The plug weld is going to be plenty strong enough. Now, some of you guys may just be satisfied with just getting, the perimeter welded in and just leaving it as is. You'll never see it. I've opted to completely fill in that hole, and then I'm going to grind it down flat. It's not perfect. You'll see here in a little bit, but I'd rather have it as flat as possible versus having just a perimeter and that kind of hole. It's just personal preference. It's really up to you. Now that it's welded, I've got my vise here. I grabbed a hold of an extra nut. I could have removed the nut that's on there, but it's super hot right now. You can see it's still smoking, so I just put another nut in the vise and threaded it down in there. I'm using this just to hold it. I'm using my 4.5-inch angle grinder with a flat disc and just grinding down the plug weld, knocking off all the BBs. And here in this next video clip, what I'm doing is I'm beveling the edges. The reason why I'm beveling the edges on here is I don't, should I end out in a house with hardwood floors, I don't want the edge of the feet to accidentally gouge into the floor. I mean, this thing's going to be super heavy. When it's sitting flat, it wouldn't have that issue, but when you're setting it up or tearing it down, you may. So I'm just beveling the edge. Who knows, I may eventually put some rubber feet on the bottom of it, just some rubber, glue it to it. I'm not entirely sure, but I wanted the edges beveled both top and bottom, so that's what I'm doing. So like I said earlier, we're going to be inserting some nuts into the square pieces with the round holes in the center. So to do that, I need to take the nuts supplied with the kit, and I need to grind down the high points on the nut, kind of rounding them out, if you will. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to be big enough or rounded out enough to slide into the holes. Now, you'll see in this next segment that some of them slide into the holes perfectly, and then the last one needed a little bit of, how do I want to say this? Needed a little bit of encouragement from a hammer to get it to go in there all the way and lay flat. Now, this is not a big deal. You guys, if you were building one of these kits, may like that idea, just because it'll hold the nut in place and it'll allow you to start welding on the top side of the weld versus the top side of the nut versus the bottom, and be able to tell whether or not your first tacks have any shrinkage that threw anything out of whack or not. With my particular setup, what I'm going to be doing is clamping it down with a set of, vice grip style welding clamps, and I'm going to be welding it from the backside. So I'm going to be putting a couple of tacks on the backside. I'm clamping it down because that should hold the nut and keep the nut from lifting up. I could also put a couple clamps on the on the square piece, but I opted not to. I didn't think it was that big of a deal. I think the weight of it in general is going to be enough to hold it in place. So that's what we're doing. So we're just laying down a couple of tacks with my TIG welder. We're going to do 2 tacks, each one of them 180 degrees apart. What this is doing is holding that nut into place so that we don't get any cockeyed business from the weld shrinking. That's why the clamps are as well. Once the 2 welds are in there, or 2 tacks are in there, we can remove the clamp and flip it over and weld the top side. Now, I could, if I wanted to, completely weld out the bottom side, or just weld a couple of key places on the bottom side and leave the top side the way you see it right here. But me being me, I don't know why. I don't really have a good reason. I'm just gonna weld this entire top side, 360 degrees all the way around it, and then grind it smooth. That's just what I want to do. So I'm using my Everlast PowerTig 210 EXT to do this job. Phenomenal machine. It's an inverter-based machine. It's one of the Everlast higher-end TIG welders. Great machine. Has all the features and controls that you would ever want on any TIG welder. At work, I use a Miller and a Syncrowave, and at my last job, I was using Lincoln Precision TIG or something like that. They're both in transformer-based machines, whereas my Everlast is an inverter-based machine. My inverter-based machine, Everlast, is absolutely my favorite amongst the three. The only complaint that I had with it was the torch and the lead. Just real bulky. Felt cheap a little bit, if I'm to be perfectly honest with you. But the plus side is that you can upgrade it. And the amount of money that you're saving from buying Everlast, you can afford to go out and do what I did, which was buy a CK Worldwide number 26 flex head torch with a 25-foot lead of that red cable hose that you see underneath there. It's like a super flex hose. Doesn't kink, and it's very flexible. Love it. The combination of the two make this a phenomenal setup. Wouldn't trade it for anything. So now that we're done welding the top side, we're going to flip this thing over as you see, and we're going to weld two of the flat sides 180 degrees apart. Is it necessary? Again, no. I've completely welded the top, and even though I'm going to grind down the top, it's still going to be plenty strong enough. I'm just putting a couple of those welds on there just because. It's not going to hurt me to have them. I don't think that they're necessary, but it's not going to hurt me to have them. It's just going to make it stronger. It just takes a little bit of time, a little bit of filler rod, a little bit of electricity. Not that big of an issue. So once I get this welded all up, we're going to take it over to my vise, flip it upside down, and grind off this top weld. I'm using, again, my Makita 4.5-inch angle grinder with a flap disc that I got from RourkeSupply.com. Make sure you guys go check them out. Use coupon code METAL, save 10% off anything that you order from them. That's my thank you to you for supporting my channel. Once I get this thing completely ground flat, now I'm not looking to make this super smooth where the transition between the weld and the plate is fluid and you don't see the weld. I'm just trying to get it flat. I don't want it concave and I don't want it protruding above the plate. So once I get it flat, that's fine. The washer's going to cover up any transitions that you see between the weld and the plate. It's going to look fine when it's all said and done. Now I'm going to take the foot that I made earlier and we're going to screw this in after I flip it over. And this is where you get your height adjustment. It screws in like so. Nothing special, nothing fancy, real basic, real nice, sturdy, strong, adjustable foot. The washer and the jam nut are just to lock this thing down into place and really to be more cosmetic than anything. The table will have a certain degree of flex in it, so having to adjust these feet is probably not going to be necessary unless you're on a super uneven surface. So just take it for what it is. We're trying to get a look here, and this is all part of it. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this part of the video. I'll see you in part 2.